again, my name is Dr. Bill Johnson, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Exploring Our Schools. Today is an exciting day for me. I have an opportunity each year to talk over with some of the representatives from the middle school play in the fall, exactly what it's all about. And so what I'm going to do is start off with the Director of Music and Performing Arts, who's come with the two students from Southside Middle School, Brian Zuar. Brian, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Johnson.
For joining us. And our two stars who are going to join us today, Lila McCary, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And Maggie Kuttner. It really is a joy having both of you here.
Thank you.
I'm just going to talk to you a little bit first, if you don't mind, about what is the Broadway Revue? What do we do?
So in the middle school theater program, in the fall, we do what's called a Broadway Revue. It's a series of songs as distinct from, in the spring, we do a book musical. They call it a book musical. So like last year it was Wizard of Oz. The year before it was Cinderella. So these are with roles, lead roles and ancillary roles and so on. But the beautiful thing about the Broadway Revue in the fall is that the director will find songs that fit the theme, but also fit the voices of the students she has. So it's
So what is the theme this year?
Almost Famous.
Almost
It's
famous.
called Almost Famous. So all of the songs.
What does that mean?
It means people are aspiring to be famous. So for example, another opening, another show, I want to be a producer. What are some of the other titles?
Let Me Entertain You.
Let Me Entertain You.
Show
Show Off. That was from the Drowsy Chaperone, I believe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's all of these songs about people aspiring to fame and fortune in Hollywood or on Broadway. So that's the theme.
Yeah.
But the kids do a great job with all of the numbers.
How many students do we actually have participating?
I want to say
Around 40?
about 40 between.
Yeah, a little more than 40, I'd say.
Oh, that's wonderful.
When you add in the crew, the cast is about 40 plus. And then
Crew
when
is
you add the
probably
crew-
cast plus crew is probably like 10 more, so probably like
Right,
around
so it's
50.
over 50
Wow,
kids
that's great.
altogether in the show. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's-
Every grade represented?
Sixth through eighth, yes.
6 through 8. Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, you've already started. You kind of jumped in to help him out. So, not that
Yep.
he really needed the help, but
I need a little
nevertheless.
help,
All
I
right.
think,
So, let's see. What are you doing?
Well, I have a solo in Let Me Entertain You, and that song is a little bit about a girl who like wants to entertain people and always has wanted to be up on a stage, and but in my song it's not just my solo, there's a whole group of other people in my song too, so it's not just me. As Dr. Zuar said, we feature many people in the songs.
So, when they pick the song, what do you do? I mean, what do you do? I mean, do you just have to go out and learn the song and then you
Well-
practice at home? Do you practice at school?
Well, we have our rehearsals, which is four out of the 5 days a week, so usually not Wednesdays, and we rehearse. Certain songs are rehearsed on certain days, so usually you don't have to come every day, you just come when your song is assigned, and then you practice those songs at home, because on our e-backpack we have the tracks recorded on e-backpack for us, and we can listen to them at home and practice.
Oh, this is interesting. So you use the tracks. So you do the tracks at home, and you've got to follow the music on a track rather than, in fact, having it accompanied by
Live,
Yes.
live.
right.
Correct.
And just
That's not so easy.
It's pretty easy, but at first you just gotta get into the rhythm, especially when some of the tracks, I remember the opening Miss Yates put in one track for us that had the people singing along with it, and then there was another track where it was karaoke and instrumental, so we have to figure out where we have to start singing and where other people start singing. So
It's a
Right.
two-edged sword. So the good news is you get to practice with the same accompaniment you're going to hear in performance.
Oh, right, at
Which
home,
helps
or-
you,
right,
no
it's
matter
the
where.
consistency
It's always
is always there.
consistent.
Right.
But the flip side is, if
It is
suddenly,
consistent.
if suddenly you pause, the track doesn't pause, right?
Yeah.
Right,
You
it
have to
keeps-
make sure you're in time.
yeah.
Whoa, that puts a lot of pressure on you. What are you doing?
I'm singing Show Off from Drowsy Chaperone. I have to do crazy dance moves, and it's just a altogether fun number. So much blocking and choreography that she gave me, which is just so much fun, and she just makes it crazy.
Now, you make sound that everybody would understand what blocking and choreography, what does that mean?
It's basically, she tells me when I should do a certain dance move and where to move on stage, and just when to do what, basically. So, yeah.
Okay. And you're very comfortable on the stage?
Yeah.
Do you get nervous?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we kind of all do. It's not just really like a couple people before the show are nervous. You know, we all have, like, we do like a few rituals.
Neither of you look like the nervous type guy. I mean, this is... Huh? I have a suspicion that you're very comfortable.
Yeah, it's like once you get on the stage and you start like performing, like once you're in the opening number, you're kind of
Used to it.
You're
Yeah.
into it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not so.
Do you
hard
feel the same
anymore.
way?
Yeah. In play practice, it just makes it easier that everybody's friends. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm not even nervous anymore.
Yeah, we all support each other, and we're all
Yeah.
like we clap for each other, like when we finish a song.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like one
great.
big drama family. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen, and you're going to find that that's true, by the way, when you come over to the high school. It is a drama family, and maybe you want to talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
I
It's
mean,
just
yeah.
remarkable to see how, I mean, in the elementary, it's a little bit different because all the kids don't, but certainly in the middle school, beginning in 6th grade, they really get a chance to work with one another.
Right. Well, two manifestations of that are, I was mentioning to the girls when we were on the way over here that I always go to the cast party, and when the spring show is over, well, even the fall show, and everybody's signing their T-shirts and all, and there are tears, because as much hard work and as much stress as it causes, when it's over, it's this community has been formed. And then when that community is no longer, they're sad, And so it's the beautiful thing about theater. You recall last week at the board meeting when I was introducing, the performing arts students, I said, the friendships you make in high school or even in middle school, they will last a long time.
A lifetime.
A lifetime. I have
Oh.
friends that I'm still friends with today,
Ditto.
umpteen years later, and you do too, that we met in shows. And by the way, my wife and I met in a show, and look what happened there.
So, is that a message to them to start looking around? I don't think so, right? What?
No, I'm making no recommendations.
Okay.
But your friendships will last a long time, a long
Right,
time.
very
It's a
important.
beautiful community, the theater community.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really is. It's really remarkable. And you feel it already, I guess. You see that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, even like I remember last year when now they're 9th graders, when they were leaving us, we just couldn't believe that it was their last show and that we were gonna be the 8th graders.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
everyone-
was so upset. I was crying hysterically.
Oh, no. Oh, really? Oh.
And my sister was like, "You'll see them on Monday." I'm like, "It won't be the same." But yeah.
Isn't that is interesting. Now, how do you fit this into your very, very crowded schedule? I mean, you have 9 periods a day that you have a lot of work to do. You have homework every night.
Yeah, I mean, usually when we come, like, drama is right after school, so maybe we'll either do, like, our homework after drama, or maybe we'll, like, if there's, like, a time in drama where they're, like, not rehearsing our number and they're, like, working with someone else, we can, like, sit in the rows and just, like, do our homework. So we try to fit it all in together.
Yeah. I try to do it during studies so that I don't have to worry about it later.
Yeah, I do it during study sometimes, too.
Well, that's good news, but you have to be very well organized, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Getting back to something that we were talking about with the soundtracks, do you ever forget a word here or there?
Like, I feel like every show, no show's gonna ever be perfect. It's like someone's gonna, maybe like mess up a word, but whether it's at home or in rehearsal or in the actual show, even you just have to we just all keep going, and if someone's upset about their mistake, because the audience sometimes doesn't even notice,
Exactly.
because half of the audience doesn't really may not know what some of the songs are. So if someone messes up a word, maybe they'll be like, "Oh, I didn't know that they messed up a word because I've never seen the show." So
That's sometimes the problem with the soundtrack, as you were saying before.
Right. It's unforgiving.
It's not very forgiving.
Right.
It just continues.
But I'll tell you, though, we talk about in our schools and educational program, 21st century skills. One of them is adapting, and adapting to different circumstances. And there's nothing like being on stage and either the line isn't fed to you properly and you have to ad lib, right? Have you ever had to
Right.
make up a line, right? And but it's creative thinking.
Well, that happens sometimes in the play, but I would think
Not so
maybe
much,
in
right? Not so
Broadway.
much in the reviewing.
yeah, with the lines, not so much in the review, because again, there's not a lot of lines.
But you think creatively. And
Yeah.
you fill in for each other. Like if one person is missing something, another person will fill in, and they
Yeah.
support one another.
Yeah.
So you guys involved in other things as well?
Like in terms of
Or is
theater.
music kind of your life?
Well, I've always been like theater ever since like even elementary school, but I do play sports too, but it's mostly music and
Well,
theater
yeah.
that I love.
You too?
Yeah, I play tennis like 4 times a week, so I'm really
Wow.
into that.
Yeah.
Singing and.
But your heart is really into the singing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
When did you decide that? I mean,
well.
you said this just didn't happen yesterday.
No, it was actually in elementary school in 4th and 5th grade play. The 5th graders usually would get like the more lead roles, and the 4th graders would be like the the ensemble and the singers. But in 4th grade, one of the 5th graders was, I think like she moved away to another city or something. So I actually filled in, and I was like one of the main parts, even though I was in 4th grade. So it was kind of then that I knew that.
You got hooked. Yeah?
Pretty much.
Did you?
Yeah.
How about you?
My mom, she used to tutor this girl, Gina, and she had cancer, but she was an amazing singer. So she started this program called Kids Performing Who Care, and she asked me and my sister to do it with her.
And how old were you?
I was only like, I'd like to say like 7 or 8.
Oh, my
wow.
goodness.
I was
wow.
really young, and my sister was older, so like I would just like follow her around, and that's when I really knew like that I loved being on stage, and that like I like thought you have to do it for a purpose, and it was just so we'd raise money for kids with cancer.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, it was amazing. There was 2 shows we did for that, and I think we're gonna do more soon. But
Interesting how there's stories behind everything, right? How people get started. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
2 very interesting and very, very different,
Very different, yeah.
paths to the same stage.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about why your voice is a stage voice. Do you think stage quality, can anybody do it, do you think? Or is it,
Well,
do
I
you
think
think your voice is somewhat unique? Do you have to practice it, making it really special?
some people just have like a more like a Broadway voice, I'd like to say, but you can always like perfect it and practice to make it more of a Broadway voice, I guess.
You
but-
just said a mouthful. It's very interesting. Yeah. We've become somewhat accustomed because of where we live with what we call the Broadway voice. But there's the opera, there's pop, there's all kinds of things. What is the Broadway voice? Do you know what that is?
Well,
In your-
everybody sees it differently.
Yeah.
I see it more of a like a Dina Menzel, for example, more of a belty, just a belty vibrato, like all that stuff that like you can change it up. But like I just see like a real Broadway singer, Idina Menzel.
Now, do you feel different when you're singing? I mean, do you think your voice is different?
Yeah, it's a lot different because
Now, how
I'm
do
a
you
belty
project?
singer. Well, I project by opening up my mouth because that's where you get all the sound. You have to really.
Yeah, definitely.
Really?
When we're like
Learn that
rehearsing
from
for
the
songs
scenes.
and we have like a big note at the end, our director, Miss Yates, will tell us like to open our mouth, and,
As much
and then
as
it's like if you have your mouth closed, it's like you're whispering. But then when you open your mouth, it's like a whole different world.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
But it's remarkable that we're having these discussions with 8th grade students.
I'd like
And-
to pick up on something
Yeah.
Maggie just said a few minutes ago, which is, so they're both onto the technique is, you're floating the sound on air, so you have to have a good breath, but then how you shape your mouth makes an enormous difference as to
Yeah.
what kind of sound.
is.
But the other thing that you said, which is really important, is you can be trained and you can practice how to produce the different tones. So with your voice teacher or with your chorus teacher in school, you want a more operatic sound, you want a more pop sound, and there are techniques for each, sound, how you form the vowels, how you form your mouth, and how you support the tone. So it can be taught.
Yeah.
It's
Yes,
not
definitely.
only,
Yeah.
innate ability.
Definitely.
So you practice at it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it just takes like a lot of practice because as they all say, practice makes perfect. And once you keep practicing your songs and keep practicing, singing, you'll get better and better.
So it's just not getting up there on the stage and belting out a song. You actually work at
Yeah, you
this.
have to work at it so
Very,
much.
yes.
Really. And there's a lot
Takes
of
practice.
expression involved in that.
Oh,
Yeah, and I remember, I think it was actually just yesterday at rehearsal, Miss Yates would always tell us, like, to just, like, energy is one of the most important things, you know, when you're on, whether you have a solo or whether you're like in the ensemble, maybe not even singing at the moment. It's just very important to have energy, because if you have energy, then people in the audience are going to be drawn to you, and then you'll make the show a lot brighter and more exciting.
We could go on for a long time, but I'm going to leave it at this because we're right at the very end of the show. And I'm going to leave it on that note of energy, because both of you bring a lot of energy to this table. And I'm absolutely sure that you're going to bring plenty of energy to the stage. So,
Thank you.
any advice to somebody in 6th or 7th grade, or even in the elementary schools? Like, follow your dream.
As you just said, my advice would probably be just like follow your dreams, and whatever you want to be, it just takes, as long as you practice and you work hard. And, you know, if you do like drama, join drama club when you get to middle school for the elementary school kids. It really is a fun experience, and like I
Right.
said earlier, it's like a big family, and we all are really close friends.
Great.
Yeah, I totally agree with her, because in 6th grade I was so shy,
So
and
was
the
I.
8th graders were the ones who really got me to try for things. And then in 7th grade I got one of the leads, and I didn't think it was possible. And you just got to believe in yourself.
Okay. 2 very important messages. So on that note, I thank you both very much. This is great. I so enjoy this, and I'm sure I'm going to have an opportunity to enjoy you on stage. So,
Thank
Brian,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. J.
And thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. 2 wonderful stars. Actually, the performance is, Brian, it's going to be
November
4th
and 5th.
at 4:30 in the afternoon.
4:30 in the afternoon.
And then the following day, Saturday, I believe at 7 o'clock.
7:30.
7:30.
At 7:30. So 1 week from now, we would love to be able to have you join us and participate and see the talent that we have at Southside Middle School, 2 of which are great examples that we had here today. Brian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, girls, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you again very much for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Bye now.